Hello there. I've
Hello there.
decided to take this channel over.
If anybody watching this doesn't know Jeff Taylor, you will not have a clue what that's all about. But the famous catchphrase from Jeff Taylor is,
Hello there.
hello there. What we're going to do, we're just going to stay on this channel all night, and all we're going to do is go backwards and forwards saying hello there. Jeff, Richard, you're both very, very welcome. It's going to get very confusing for Jeff because he's got two dicks, one on either side of him. And you know, I've missed having a channel where we can have a bit of a mess about and a bit of a laugh. We used to do it loads on Paul Thorpe's. We're talking about serious things tonight, as we always are on these things. But if we do it in a light-hearted way, it cheers people up. And we were well, I'm not even going to say what we're talking about before we came on, but it cheers people up and stops them doing silly things. So yes, it's good to have you, Jeff. And if you don't know who Jeff Taylor is, Jeff, give us a bit of an introduction, who you are, 2-minute pen picture of your extensive life, travels and journeys, and then we'll get the same from you, Richard.
Right, yeah. So I grew up, joined the Navy, left the Navy, and then ungrew up and became a YouTube influencer, whatever you want to call them, a creator. So that's the sort of story of my life. A big chunk in the middle in the Royal Navy and two ends of playing juvenile. I can't sum it up any other way, I'm afraid.
Sounds good. Richard?
Ah, yes. Oh, good grief. Where do I begin? Somewhere between... I've been working with Jeff for about... How long has it been now? Since 2007?
Yes.
We've been working together on various different political sort of analysis sort of stuff, I suppose the way to explain it is. We started an online newspaper quite a while ago, and we moved from there over to YouTube. I was very much in the background, whilst Jeff just, took over and did everything out front, because I was on, believe it or not, I was in front of the camera first. That is true, that is. Yeah. But yeah, Jeff, I mean, at the time it was very difficult for me to do because of family commitments and other work. But so Jeff took over that and did an incredibly splendid job over the Brexit period. In fact, he was, other than Nigel Farage, known as Mr. Brexit. And mine was more of a supportive role, writing, researching, and that sort of thing. And then, was it about, oh, good grief, 2 years ago, after a bout of illness with Jeff, it was decided that I had to come in, because instead of occasionally people hearing my words when Jeff reads them out, sometimes, because Jeff does, I do write a little bit for Jeff, not much, but I do a bit. And for me to actually speak words myself and go in front of the camera. And the rest is history, really. My background is, oh, good grief, composer, musician, so many different things. But we've been working together on political analysis for many years. And this has become an obsession of both Jeff and myself, dissecting what's going on in the world, the injustices of the world.
That's the thing. And I think the thing about it is, Richard, I mean, once you get into this, you can't really stop. It is like Hotel California. It is like that line that Al Pacino utters in I think it's in The Godfather Part 3, where he says, every time I try to get out, they just keep sucking me back in. And that's pretty much the way it is for all of us in this movement. I think we're just constantly getting dragged back into the into the fray. But you wouldn't have it any other way. And in all seriousness, we are really, I think, making a difference, Jeff. In a small way, yes, but I think all of us, we're just chipping away, doing stuff every day. And of course, we'll go into what we're going to talk about tonight. Tonight we're going to talk about Tommy, because obviously we both had interactions with Tommy in the last 48 hours. We're going to talk about Unite the Kingdom rally. We're going to talk about the court case. We're going to talk a bit about the football lads on the 28th of June. And we're going to talk about the pledge, hence the big logo at the top of the screen, which I hope everybody can see. And again, if you haven't read the pledge, if you haven't signed the pledge, please go to the website, please read it. And if you don't sign it, you probably need to see a psychiatrist. And if you do sign it, that's absolutely fantastic. So Jeff, tell us about what happened on Tuesday with Tommy, and then I'll come in a bit on my discussions with him today. And then let's talk about Tommy for a bit.
Yeah, it was a very, very good day, and I got there quite early because I left early, thinking, "Oh, I'll have to beat all the traffic. I've got to be there by 6 o'clock or something like that to be prepared for him to come out at 6:30." And I forgot that at night the only thing on the roads are lorries, nothing else. So I actually
Yeah.
managed to get there at about between 5:30 and 5:45. So I was there at stupid o'clock because I could have stayed in bed for another half an hour, but I suppose it was probably better early than never. So I did get there in time. Now, what I learned was that the press had been even earlier. The press were very early there. They arrived on Friday. So they all turned up on Friday when they thought Tommy was coming out of prison, and he didn't. So they left and they never came back. There was, as far as I could see, unless they had telephoto lenses at 2 miles, there was only Tommy's security people there, and people like Wendell doing the filming and all that sort of thing, and myself and a couple of others, and that was it. You know, they wanted it to be low key. They didn't want masses of people there because it would have just, you know, caused the prison a bit of a problem, and probably, and it wouldn't have looked good on Tommy if that had happened. But he came out and he was smiling, the widest smile you've ever seen, and he was really pleased. He was sharp as a tack, and you just have to give it to him. If I'd been sort of stuck in that position where he was for all that time, I'm not sure what sort of state I'd have been in. But because I did go and visit him, and he looked well, but not as he was. But I think since he found out and since he resolved to get out of jail by purging his contempt, I think it then became a case of, right, I'm gearing myself up. And he came straight out in front of the camera and started talking about his plans and about the history behind it all. And so it was a really good day. And when he finished that, we were straight off for breakfast. Well, actually, he made a detour to his mum's house so he
You know,
could get some black and white pudding.
well, do
And
you know
we,
what, Jeff? I was thinking he looked pretty slim when he came out. He
yeah,
I mean, I was watching the Ezra Levant interview, and I thought, man, he looks gaunt. You know what I mean?
yeah,
There's two things I noticed. One, he was very, very slim. The other thing was he was so articulate that
yeah.
there was, and he always is, but it was almost like he had a statesman-like air about it. And I said this to him today. I said, you know what? I says, that speech you made, it says, first thing, you didn't swear once. He didn't swear once. He didn't swear once in the speech at the gate, and he didn't swear once when he did the Ezra Levant interview, which I thought was very impressive because, you know, Tommy has been known from time to time to have a bit of a, you know, yeah, he swears like a drunken sailor, as some might say, or used to anyway. So I thought, I just said to him, I said it was great.
He came out of prison looking like a drunken sailor with all, I mean, that hair and that beard.
Robinson
And he
Crusoe.
said, when I went to visit him, he said, "Oh, I'm going to chop that off before I come out." And he hadn't. But
I think it was
the
good.
rest of us,
Because he had the look of a sort of a hunger striker or a you know, real political dissident. I thought that was a really good look. I mean, look, whether he thought about that or not, you know, how he was going to look when he came out.
yeah.
But I think that would have shocked a lot of people. You know, it would have been more interesting if he'd let his hair grow the whole time he was in there. When I went to see him, he had a skinhead and no hair, you know, and he was clean shaven. But no, I thought it was very, very interesting. So yeah, so sorry, I cut across you when you were talking. But by the way, when you ever go anywhere with Tommy, you'll always be well fed because he loves his grub. Go on,
he does.
We got to breakfast and I interrupted.
Yeah, so we got to breakfast and had his the black and white pudding was prepared for us, so we could eat that as well with a full English. I mean, it was a wonderful meal. It was really quite large, lots of coffee and all the rest of it. And of course, the name came out. Oh, there's Tommy Robinson Crusoe. So that sort of stuck for it as well. So that was quite good. There was a lot of banter and there was a lot of. Everyone was very happy that he was out, and which is all right and proper. And after that, I had to wait around because I took a photo of him with his with the massive beard, you know, and the hair. It looked like there was this little face, all hair everywhere. And then when he came back through the door into the place where we were having breakfast, he walked through the door, and I looked up at him and I sort of went, "Who's he?" like this, you know. and took a selfie with him so that I could show everybody, clean shaven. And a lot of people did say that when he went in, he looked, when they went to visit him, he looked quite lined and wrinkled. But once he'd had the old shave and the old, and the haircut, he looked pretty okay. There was no, he's aged, obviously, but not as much as some people were probably expecting, I don't think. Anyway, that's the sum total of it. And it was a good event and a good day.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was really encouraging. And again, it's, there was, I mean, I did 3 live streams I did 5 hours worth of live streaming on whatever day it was, Monday or Tuesday when he got out, Tuesday one. It was just back, as soon as it happened, I streamed Wendell's stream straight to my page. Then I did Voice of Wales in the afternoon. Then I had Stan from Voice of Wales on in the evening. So it was like 5.5 hours of live streaming, because it was because, I mean, the reality is, I had a horrible feeling that they were going to arrest him at the gate, that he was going to come out, because they'd hit him with these. Well, of course, we can't say whether we think the charges are ridiculous or not, because that would be going a little bit a step too far for the CPS. But he'd been hit with what he'd been hit with, and I just thought, if they arrest him now, they'll just remand him, and that'll be him until they get him a trial date. And thankfully, they didn't. So. That was good news. I spoke to him today, and he was absolutely buzzing. I mean, he was just, he was encouraging, positive, focused, and I'm not saying, however many months in prison, was it 7 months or 6 months or whatever it was, 7 months is good for you. But I tell you what, he has come out very, very focused. So he's got a laser-like focus. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's going after, and let's just fall in behind him and let's just get behind him and get as many people. I think, especially Jeff, for the 5th of June.
Yes,
I think
that's next Thursday.
Next Thursday. Then there needs, if you're anywhere near London, or if you can get there, get across to that court. It's Westminster Magistrates, is it, Jeff?
Yes, Westminster Magistrates Court. Yeah.
What time do we know? Do we know a time yet?
No, we won't find that out probably until Wednesday. Okay. They normally just produce the court lists for the following day. Apart from the people who are directly involved, they get to know earlier, but it's not something they put out for everybody.
Yeah.
So
well, I think there needs to be a major turnout on the 5th, and show them the support, because again, the government have got to realize that if you keep messing this person about, that the support that he's got is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think I've said it on this channel a lot of times. If the worst happens and they decide to remand him, I think we then need to peacefully, legally, and legitimately start a real campaign of protests up and down the country. As long as they're legal and peaceful and legitimate, nobody can say a thing to you, because it's far better doing that than people going out and smashing things up and burning and all the rest of it. Peaceful protest, and let's show the government what the British people really think about Tommy Robinson, because we didn't do it during this imprisonment because he asked us not to. Let's get it right. I mean, that's why people didn't take to the streets. Just want to go on this super chat by Yam. Want the UK saved, sign the pledge. We're going to talk about that in a lot of detail later on this stream. Thanks for that, Yam. 100%. The pledge is a very, very important piece of the jigsaw. And what we're going to try and do tonight is put the pieces of the jigsaw together that we're involved in. Obviously, we don't have anything to do with the Conservative Party or Reform or anything else. But what we do have to do with is Tommy, uniting the kingdom, and all the other various bits of moving parts that are basically going on. I do want to talk very quickly. I'm just going to say this before I forget. 28th of June, the football lads are doing a march against grooming and an event against grooming. And now, thankfully, everybody knows what grooming is. It's not what you take your dog to go and get done in the grooming parlor. It's it's the disgusting euphemism that people use for, well, we can't say it on this channel, but everybody knows what I'm talking about. The horrible stuff that's been going on up and down the country that's affected maybe 1 million children. So that's on the 28th of June, Russell Square. I'm going from memory here, so football lads, forget this wrong, I apologize. Russell Square, 12 noon. Okay, that's that's out the way. So was there Jeff? Was there any talk with Tommy about what's happening next? Did you get into any of that stuff, or was it just light-hearted? I'm out, and I'm glad to be out.
Yeah, most of it was just sort of getting people together, his friends and close family and all that sort of thing. The ones that were there, just so that re-engage with them. He hasn't seen some of them for quite a long time. Although people have been trying to visit him in prison, we all know exactly what was going on there, where people were turned away. I had my date changed 3 or 4 times. And in the end, I went with Andrew Bridgen, the former MP Andrew Bridgen, and Momus as well. So that was quite a good day, and he was on good form there as well. So, but we didn't really talk. I mean, the most important thing I think on his mind, from what I could see, was A, getting out, B, sorting out the 13th of September. That's Saturday, the 13th of September. Book your room in London, because there's going to be a big rally then. And I tell you, I've already got my rooms booked.
Yeah, and I know where you'll be. I know I'm not giving out, but I've got a good idea where you'll be staying, Jeff. And no, and I think, I mean, look, the just so to put people's minds at rest. Obviously, despite Tommy being in prison, we've been communicating through various different means, and there's a really good plan in place for the 13th. There's a really good plan in place. The police have been contacted. Everything's in hand, and it's going to be the biggest event that there's ever been, probably in the capital. That from the centre right on, especially regarding freedom of speech. Jeff, I don't know if you remember, we did one in 2018. I think it was May 2018, before Tommy was imprisoned for the Huddersfield grooming convicts that he was arrested for, asking them what they thought their sentence would be. So that was the last time we had a really big freedom of speech event that was just focused on freedom of speech. And this, especially with the way Jeff, what do you think? And Richard, if you come on this as well, what do you guys think about Rubio and the way he stuck it on the European governments about freedom of speech, actually saying he's going to sanction people that are restricting freedom of speech for American citizens and American corporations, which the platform we're on now actually has an impact on that platform and on Facebook and on Twitter. What do you guys think about that? Richard, over to you first. I don't know if you've heard anything about it or...
I haven't, no, but any suppression of freedom of speech doesn't surprise me whatsoever. Basically, we live in a Western society that is having freedom of speech pulled from underneath us, it's like you're standing on a rug and it's just being pulled. You get back up, you stand up again, and the rug's pulled again. It seems to be a continuous thing. Rumble's been having issues as well, and I think it's going to continue. But I do wonder the impact of Trump upon all this and his administration.
Well, that's what I was saying, Jeff, Richard. What's happened is Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, the U.S. Secretary of State, has said that any governments or regulators, i.e. Ofcom or any of these, Ofcommunism, as Dan Mutton very rightly called it this afternoon, the Ofcommunists, they're going to be sanctioned, and the people that are involved in those groups may well not be allowed to travel to the United States if they are restricting freedom of speech. So in other words, if they, So this happened exactly. This happened in 2018. So what happened in 2018? This is when I had a pretty decent following on Facebook at the time. And in 2018, we all got vaporized and shadow banned. So I got shadow banned on Twitter until Elon took it over, and shadow banned on this platform, and completely evaporated from Facebook, because as far as we know, someone who is now very prominent in the British government gave a list to Nick Clegg of undesirables, me, Tommy, Carl Benjamin, Paul Joseph Watson, loads of others, and we all got absolutely vaporized in 2018. Now, with what Rubio said, I would say if Yvette Cooper takes a list to Facebook or this platform or other platforms and tries to get us banned, she might well get short shrift from them and a reprimand from the American government, which is absolutely fantastic news. Let's hope they follow through on it. Because I'd been saying this, and I've been talking to people in America, and I've been saying it on my channel. I've been saying that somebody needs to rattle the cage of them about the social media giants, that they don't take the side of the left-leaning governments, that they take the side of the American government and do what's right for free speech. What do you think about it, Jeff? What are your thoughts on the issue?
Yeah, no, it's good to see that freedom of expression, as is technically known, is now becoming higher on the agenda. We've had it slashed. I keep saying to people, they talk about, oh, we have free speech. No, we don't. We have controlled speech. And every year, the debate is not freedom of speech, is which bit of the freedom of speech are we going to erode this year? Because there's a minority over there, or there's someone over there, or there's a country over there that is demanding that we don't say this, don't say that, or we better. So in the end, it just comes down. And it's right out of 1984. If you can't say anything, then it's not happening and you're not allowed to talk about it. So when we got Rubio, I mean, it says here in Reuters that he didn't name any specific instances, but US tech companies and the Trump administration have challenged US allies in Europe, alleging censorship on social media platforms. And can you imagine that there's Keir Starmer, right, you lot, you're not to talk about this anymore. And then he says, I'm going on a state visit to the US to meet President Trump. Oh, no, you're not.
Well, I mean, this is the thing. This is the thing about it. And I mean, you know, I think people are under. I mean, I was saying to my wife earlier on, I said, can you imagine if Kamala had won the election, what state we would be in now? We'd all be gone. I'd probably be in prison, you know. You guys would be probably talking about mushroom farming in the Outer Hebrides or something. I mean, you would just be, we'd be completely we'd be completely obscure or completely disappeared, you know. So I think it's really exciting, and I think, you know, I would love to see them go, and then maybe he's doing it in the background, not just doing it public. I'd love to see them going to the platform that we're on now and saying, you need to take the shackles off censorship. In a much bigger way than you're already doing. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love this platform, but the problem is it's the way that we've got to be so careful what we say and the way we skirt around things, and we've got to play the game, because at the end of the day, if we don't play the game, we're gone, you know. And by the way, 2,000 people watching already, which is absolutely fantastic. Thanks everyone for watching. If you can like and share this. These guys have a massive following in their own right on this platform. So get across to Jeff Taylor, follow him. If you're not already subscribing to Jeff's channel, get across, subscribe to him. Richard, have you got your own channel as well that you want to build up?
Yes, I mean,
plug yours.
Jeff and myself, we've got another channel called Tripe and Whatnot, but that's mainly geared towards the American audience, because we found it was easier to split it, because some people are interested in one thing, some people in the other. And my personal channel, which is more of a Christian focus, is called Missed the News. Missed as in you missed something. Yeah. So, missed the news. Yeah.
Yep. So find those channels, guys. If you're not subscribed to mine, go to Counter Media. It's up there, and obviously on the backing. And we're also going to start, and we're going to talk about this later on, we're going to start pushing the Pledge channel as well, because we've got a YouTube channel for the Pledge. Jeff can contribute it, I can contribute to it. We'll get Paul Thorpe set up if he's going to come back and do this, and get people that are involved in the Pledge contributing to that channel, because again, I think one of the things that we've got to get, all the people that have signed up, you're all absolute legends. You know, we thank you immeasurably for doing that, because I think it's going to be a massive asset to this country. But we need to get people that haven't signed up, or the people that don't really fully understand what it's about, signed up. So we're going to be doing some very simple explainer videos. This is kind of the first one, and we're going to put big chunks of this onto that channel later on. So that's another thing that we're going to be doing as well. So let's talk about the 13th of September, Jeff and Richard, and what your thoughts are. Go to you, Richard, first on this massive freedom of speech event that we're going to have on the 13th of September. What do you think about it? How do you think it'll go? I mean, I know quite a lot about it already. So what are your thoughts, Rich, about, you know, why should people be bothered going to that? Why should they go?
That's a very good question, and it's not one that can be answered easily, because to answer this, you have to understand what's at stake. Okay, the future of this country is at stake. Increasingly, it is looking like politics is not serving us very well, or at least the political class are not listening to us, the people of this country. They're not listening. The only way that they can listen is if they see something unifying. And something which is unifying will then potentially stand against them and be a threat to them. And even if that threat is just non-compliance at the voting booth, that is still a threat. Okay? Now, the thing, what we very much need is we need to have the people of this country attending, coming to London. Okay? I'm hoping, here's me saying this, Richard and Jeff, you both know that it's highly unlikely that I will be there for quite a few reasons, but that's an issue that I have. But or maybe I will come this time, Jeff. You've got to book me a hotel room in room next to yours, all right? So I can annoy you for the entire night. Anyway, no, please, yes, you've got to come just to watch me and Jeff argue all day. So yes, but come along, because this is our. I mean, to be honest with you, what we saw in the other events was an incredible movement of the British people coming together. It was like the soul of Britain was coming back, and it was powerful stuff. You know, I watched Paul Thorpe did that that video. He was in tears and bits. Just the power, the emotion of people coming together. It's called love. They call us far right. This is love, for goodness sake. You know that you look at the people there, and they all had something that I haven't seen in this country for a while. They had hope, a little bit of hope, and that is invaluable, and that is influential, and it is contagious.
Yeah, I think the other thing they had was unity. We had Muslims, we had Christians, we had Jews, we had Sikhs, we had Hindus, we had white people, we had brown people, we had yellow people, we had black people. We had the full panoply of different types. We actually, do you know what? I was saying this on the channel the other night, and I think people didn't believe me. We actually had a Satanist there, believe it or not, right? And the Satanist said he heard the preachers on the stage, right? And he spoke to one of the preachers after and said, "Oh, I'm done with the Satanist stuff now. I think you Christians are right. I'm going to become a Christian." So that was what, you know. And there's people getting converted to Christianity with these preachers preaching on the platforms. But it's not. I mean, that's not what we're there for. Well, it is partly what we're there, but we're there to bring people together in unity and love of country, love of each other, love of neighbour. And I think the last, how many have we done now? 1, 2, 3. Well, if you count St. George's Day, 1, 2, 3, sort of 4 or 5 of these rallies. Yeah. And I think 5 if you count St. George's Day. And I think they've got stronger and bigger and better, and the sense of unity's got better. And it is just a nice place to be. It's an atmosphere where you know that the guy standing next to you thinks exactly like you do, believes exactly what you believe. And that's from all different backgrounds, because everybody gets there's a massive problem in this country. And I think there's a lot of talk about civil war and all this sort of malarkey. And I think we are the biggest bulwark to stop civil war happening, because we're the ones that are actually bringing the people together who are angry about this and giving them, like you said, Richard, giving them hope. What are your thoughts, Jeff? Why should people come on the 13th of September?
Come and show everybody how strongly you feel about saving the UK from this demise that's almost been forced on us. Douglas Murray was writing about the dismantling of the UK decades ago, and it's been continuing ever since. Around us, we're all too busy. Now is the time to stop being busy at watching the country be dismantled around us and start being strong. And when you go to these rallies, you'll find that everybody around you is thinking the same thing. And the other thing is that the rallies I've been to, the first people to turn up, apart from the people who put the stages up, you know, they put the stage up and put all the tape round and all this sort of thing. There's a group of little old ladies that turn up because they can't do the march because it's too much for them. They set their chairs in the prime position right opposite the stage, and they sit there for hours waiting for people for the show to start. They're so dedicated. If they can do that, and turn up with their chairs and sit themselves down for a couple of 3 hours, then the rest of us surely can turn up and do a little march and talk to other people. And the other thing, of course, is that when you sort of leave places where the lefties have been, there's graffiti everywhere and there's rubbish everywhere, isn't there? You know, they can't leave Glastonbury without leaving it knee deep in plastic. When you leave one of our rallies, guess what? It's tidy. People pick their rubbish up. Good old fashioned sort of people and with old fashioned values. And I think it's wonderful to see. And they sing along and they're very happy. It's a happy event and it's very cheerful, it is very hopeful, you know. So please do your best to be there. It's really good.
Totally agree. And this is an interesting one, guys. Tommy has got his YouTube channel back. Now that is very interesting. If that's true, if that's true, that is, and thanks for that, Yam. Do me a favor, Yam. Stick the link in the comments, will you, mate? And we'll try and grab them, pick them up, and get everybody on and subscribing to Tommy's channel as well. That is absolutely fascinating. If it just makes you wonder how much pressure the platforms in the US are coming under from this current administration in the US, because you know JD Vance is pretty much a free speech absolutist as far as I can see. Trump's pretty much the same, and so's Rubio. So this is very, very exciting stuff to be honest with you. Now, guys, I don't know if you've heard one of my latest AI offerings. I did the words, right? I did all the words, and I got the AI to do. And I know to Richard, this is absolute heresy because Richard is a proper composer that makes real music with real musical instruments, real editing studios, and spends hours doing what I try to do in about 30 seconds when I just put my ramblings into an AI program and it spits out a nice song at the end of it. But yes, we might at the end, if everybody's really good and stays.
Yeah. Just before you play that, what are you going to do with that? Tommy Robinson at Tommy Robinson online, 322,000 subscribers, and it's on. It's now on YouTube. I'm looking at it now
on YouTube. His channel's on YouTube.
At Tommy Robinson online. Yeah.
Wow. Is that the latest? What's the latest video? Is there a latest update?
What's the latest video there? Don't know.
Has
it was 2 years ago.
We'll see if someone drops it. If someone drops it in the, there's that many comments on this, it's hard to keep up. But if someone drops it in the comments and I can get it, we'll basically grab the comments and get it. I think what you were saying, Jeff, about elderly people and the sick coming. I mean, honestly, we've had people coming that have stage 4 cancer coming to those events and sitting there for hours, listening to the speeches, seeing everything that's going on. You know, we've had very elderly veterans coming to and before you say it, not me, I'm not an elderly veteran. And Jeff's not an elderly veteran either. We're still here. Oh, here we go. Got it. Oh, sorry. No, there we go.
I sent it in the private chat.
Boom. It's in the private
That's
chat.
The one.
Brilliant. So guys, get onto YouTube, and because I think do you know what? I think Tommy might struggle to get any subs, so he'll probably be struggling to get any subscriptions. So just, you know, help him along there, guys. Do you know what I mean? Just give him a little bit of a helping hand with this YouTube channel. You know, he's only got 320,000 subscribers, and he only got the channel back today. So let's give him a bit of a hand up. But again, it'll be very interesting to see how that channel goes and how well it actually does. Yam, Christianity is on the rise, and our Tommy Robinson has worldwide support. Never kneel and bend, only for our beautiful land and our God. Absolutely agree with that. 100%. Jeff, over to you. On the 13th of, I was to say January, the 13th of September. Now I know some of the people that are coming. Right, I'm not going to say on this channel because I think it's a secret at the minute. So I don't want to be. I don't want to be the one to be an old windbag. I've done that before. It doesn't make you too many friends. But there are going to be some very, very prominent speakers from the US, from Europe. Yeah, it's going to be incredible. The people that are there. Yeah. In terms of that, how influential is this going to be? Because people say, well, what's the point in demos, right? But I think this is different. I think this 13th of September event is going to be a different kettle of fish. How might this change the course? Well, move the Overton window and change the course of our political history, Jeff. What do you think?
I
What's the
think
potential?
if this is pushed in the right way, presented in the right way, which is we're starting the ball rolling here today, believe it or not, in our own way, positively, hopefully, with full of hope and full of energy for the future, we will be sidelining all those saddos in Westminster and the House of Lords, the House of Commons, and all those people that work in Westminster, the civil serpents, as I like to call them. We'll be sidelining them and telling them they are now irrelevant because they don't believe in what the country believes. The country believes in future prosperity, a future for our children, a future for families, and a return to our Christian heritage. That's what we're hankering for now. And by the time we get to the 13th, I think this big message will be going across. And if these people aren't in on the program, they'll be trying to fight us. And it will get harder and harder for them. It really will. It really will get harder and harder. And in the end, how can the police tell us to all shut up? If there's a million people there.
Yeah, well, this is the whole thing. I mean, and the reality is, if this is publicized properly, and we get someone's agreeing with there, Jeff. I'm not sure which point they're agreeing with because I'm not sure how far we are back on the comments. It's 2015.
Right.
By the way, guys, like and share this stream. A few people, because there was a photo of Tommy on the YouTube page, and we said we were going to talk about Tommy. A few people thought Tommy's going to be on. Tommy won't be on the channel tonight. So if you come to hear Tommy, he won't be on this platform tonight. He very likely will be on with me once he's had a bit of time to chill. But he's not going to be here tonight. We're talking about Tommy. We're talking about the Uniting the Kingdom. We're talking about how we can keep him safe. And I think another thing, and I'll ask you about this, Richard. In terms of the spiritual side of this movement, and we've seen this growing in the last few events, how important is prayer for Tommy Robinson right now?
Yes. Sorry, I'm glad you raised this point because I'd like to go back to something you said earlier. What happens if Tommy is rearrested, for instance, in the next week or so, whatever? Okay, what do we do then? And the one thing I think would be incredible and something that the establishment would hate is if everybody went to church on that Sunday, their own personal churches, that weekend, went to their own churches and prayed for Tommy. Okay, maybe after the service, maybe after the vicar spoken, somebody gets up and says, look, is it possible we can have a pray for something? And don't get me wrong, inside a lot of churches, that's not going to go down well. Well, if not necessarily inside churches, or maybe just out in the street, maybe people get together and pray and put it on social media, put it on YouTube, put it on X. Show yourself praying. Let this go right across the country, across the world. People coming together to pray. We can get together, we can do demos, etc. We can protest, but there's no greater protest than praying. And it's actually not, it's more than a protest, it's an action. This is something else. And I'm sure that Tommy's felt and heard the prayers of the millions of people who've been praying for him when he was in jail. I'm sure he has. I know he would have.
Well, he said that, Richard. He said,
wow.
I think he said 80% of the people that were emailing him were Christians, right? Yeah. I think that's what he said. And he also said that he really appreciated their prayers for him. And I mean, look, I'm not going to speculate on where Tommy is spiritually. That's between him and his God, and I'm not going to speculate on that. But it was very interesting that he came out wearing a cross. Was that a rosary? I don't know. Was that a rosary he was wearing?
Yes, a rosary with a cross. Yeah, with a crucifix.
So it was very interesting that he's wearing a very simple wooden cross on his attire when he came out, because nothing about the way he came out, whether it was by intention by him or not, but nothing about that. The way he came out was unplanned. I think there was a divine plan behind that, because there was something almost like an Old Testament prophet in the way he came out with the beard and the hair and the way he spoke at the gates of the thing. And by the way, Bess, thanks very much for that super chat there. £117 flights from Belfast. They will be going up. I have no doubt that those flights to London will be going up for that weekend, because there's going to be a lot of people traveling from all over the world, let alone all over the country. So it's quite simply going to be the biggest one that we've ever done. It's as plain and simple as that.
Yeah, can I just interject with one little point?
Yeah.
If prayer didn't matter and it didn't work,
Mm-hmm.
we wouldn't get arrested for it, would we?
Oh, yes.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. That's exactly it. That's exactly the situation. I mean, and I think this is, who was it? Was it you I was talking to the other day, Richard, about the day of prayer that was called when the boats were on Dunkirk? No, it was Stan from Voice of Wales. Yeah,
Right.
the day of prayer. When
The king called
I
for a
think
day of prayer, didn't
the king
he?
called, during the Second World War.
Yeah.
During the Second World War, the king called for a day of prayer. I think a day of prayer, or days of prayer, in fact, quite a lot of days of prayer, would probably be a really good idea for this country. And again, I get, if you're watching this and you're not religious, I get it. We're not going to, stick this on you, but to me, I mean, it's, I think it's really, 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 really important to be praying for Tommy.
Richard, sorry, the one thing which I think it has to be said, it's a line I keep using. If you want the country of yesteryear, you have to become the people of yesteryear. Okay? The people of yesteryear did have a belief. They looked at the world very differently. They had different values, and there's a reason for that. And it wasn't through atheism. I'm talking about, if you go back, say, 40, 50 years in this country, I can remember myself, I'm 52, but I remember being in Rumney in the South Wales valleys, and all the front doors were left open in that mining town as a young kid. Things were totally different. Chapels were filled. It was a different mindset. It was a different world, a different country, and we have to get back to that. And
lost you there, Rich. You're frozen a bit, mate.
It's like I've always been. Yeah, and I just lost all of you two guys as well. And it's weird. But let me just see if I've on the right route here. I've just found out why. Actually, hang on. I'll see if I can jump across to a different route later.
I think while you're doing that, Rich, I mean, one of the things about Wales is Wales saw one of the biggest Christian revivals in world history in a very short period of time. There's only over 100,000 people converted to Christianity at the beginning of the 20th century. I think it was 1905, with Evan Roberts being the sort of the facilitator of that, if you like. But I think something big's happening spiritually. I really do, and I know people on my channel are going to get sick of me harping on about this, but I do think something really big's happening spiritually. I think there's a change in a lot of us. We've kind of woken up to the fact that we weren't doing things just right, and we're kind of getting ourselves sorted out, and God's getting us sorted out. So I think that's happening, and I hope that's happening with Tommy. I hope it's happening with other people in the movement. I was talking to Ricky Doolan yesterday about all this. So, to me, the spiritual side of it, whether people like it or not, is a big part of what we're doing. And Jeff, I mean, even your story, you've had if you don't mind me saying, a bit of an awakening spiritually. Would that be a fair thing to say? Do you want to talk about that?
Yes, I've always. It's a funny old thing. Like most people, they don't realize it, but I do talk to God. Most people do without knowing it. They say stupid things like, "God, why is this happening to me?" Although why are they saying that if they don't believe in a God? These are the sorts of things that people automatically say. And the thing is that we're given free reign, basically, by God to do what we want. We will be judged later what the decisions we made. But it's so I always thought there was something missing somewhere in my life, because it's you believe the science, and you must believe the real economic world, and there's nothing else. But we're not built that way. We are actually quite spiritual beings. We can't be hard-nosed businessmen and just scientists and that's it. There's more to it than that. Human connection is also part of it. But you've got to have something. It's quite important that you have something that you have no power over, and you submit to it, and you just say, look, at the end of the day, otherwise everything is too much of a challenge for humans.
Yeah.
And I think that's how we're made, and we're made in the image of God for a start with, but only the image of Him. You
Yeah.
know, it's very difficult to explain, but there was this spiritual part missing. So I sort of talked, because I know, Richard is a long-term Christian, and I talked to him about it. But I don't like the modern church. I'm sorry, I don't like the modern Church of England. It doesn't. It's a social services tea with the vicar club, as far as I'm aware. There's nothing hard hitting. There's nothing remotely traditional about it these days.
Yeah.
So I went to an Orthodox church, which I've attended regularly for the last 6 or 8 months now. So, and I'm going to be baptized very shortly as well. So
Yeah.
shows you my commitment to it.
Yeah.
But I found a lot of answers there. They're not answers 2 + 2 = 4. No, it's not answers like that.
Yeah.
This is answers to me as to what I believe and how I think the universe and everything is actually constructed. I put science in its place now,
Yes.
and you
Yes.
put the economy in its place now, and politics.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think there are. I mean, I find the Orthodox faith very interesting. To be honest with you, I'm not Orthodox. I'd be more Reformed and probably Pentecostal, which is a bit of a contradiction. But in my sort of theology, but I like the idea of theosis that they have. That you, and again, I don't want to get this wrong, because if I get it wrong, I'm a complete heretic. But you basically almost get swallowed up by God. You get taken as you develop in the Orthodox Church. You end up in a situation where you become more like Christ until you're almost Elijah, like taken up. If that makes any sense. And I like that.
The aim. That is the sort of aim, the theosis of getting to that point, a sainthood type of way of thinking and being. Yeah.
Now, again, obviously theologically.
Sorry, heretic. Sorry to take over your channel. Heretic has said, follow Jesus, not Christianity. I do understand.
Yeah, totally agree with that. But, I totally. I mean, obviously, I totally agree with that. It's about following Christ. That's the whole thing, and I'm not going to dispute any of that. I mean, what we don't want to do is go into an obscure theological debate. But I think the point is very clear that there is something spiritually happening in the country that I've never seen before, that we can have these sort of conversations. There's 2,000 people watching this, and I'm looking at the comments, and I'm not seeing too many people saying, "Shut up, Richard." Whereas years ago, when I was doing this sort of stuff on Facebook, you just got all the Dawkinites and the Sam Harrisites and all the parasites from the New Atheists basically attacking you for having Christian beliefs. Whereas now, we have these sort of discussions and people saying, "Yeah, do you know what? I might not agree with you, but I really respect what you believe, and I wish I had it." That's the sort of conversation that we're having now.
2 years ago, I was doing this. Yeah, 2 years ago, I started talking about Christianity on the Jeff Taylor channel, and all of a sudden, it was quite stark, I should say, the kickback that I was getting. Although there were some positive comments, these days it's totally different. Totally different. In fact, it's quite the reverse. More people are supportive of Christianity. Even, I mean, this goes back to the live stream I did with you quite recently, Richard, is that it's not necessarily that people are Christian. It's just that they are starting to understand and appreciate Britain's Christian heritage. Now, for me, I'm very much of the camp that, the heritage should stem from a personal relationship with Christ. But just the fact that people are recognizing the impact of Christianity on the world. I mean, for instance, we talk about the Age of Enlightenment and secularism, okay? That only came about because it was actually birthed within the freedoms given within Christianity, believe it or not. That's the fact of the matter. The Enlightenment didn't come out of any other culture, did it? It came out of the westernized, Christianized Europe. So it has to be understood that there's so much more to Christianity, but something happened, something very dark happened with secularism. When it took over, it said that anything goes, anything is fine, everything equal, relativism right across the board, philosophically, spiritually, etc. And the only problem with that is when you actually look at the impact of the Western Christianized world upon the rest of the world. And you think, okay, well, there were some negative things. Things done in the name of religion are very, very different. The things that are done with a religious background, if you see what
Yeah.
I mean. You know, there's a huge difference, and people start to understand that now.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, the other thing is, when I suppose because I don't really want to sort of digress too far, but I think, the British Empire was raised up by God to take the gospel to the four corners of the world, and it
Yes.
did. That's the reality. And I think historically we can again, we're not going to get into that debate tonight, but I think historically we can back that up and say, yeah, that's pretty much happened. What this is a good one. What happened to your pride background? I'm just going to show you this, guys. Okay, so just bear with me for 2 seconds.
Oh, right. What?
You ready? This is
What?
I don't know if anyone's going to be able to see this. Can you see it? Can we see that? See that?
Yeah, just about. Yeah,
Just about. That's for what I'm going to call reclaiming the Rainbow Month. So
yes.
So what we're going to do? We're going to have this nice little backdrop in the corner during June, and it's about the covenant that God made between man and himself after the flood. That's what the rainbow is all about. Okay, so
Absolutely.
it's not about what you do in the bedroom. It's about what you do when you're on your knees between you and God. Okay, so that's what what we're going to do during Rainbow Month. It's going to be about the covenant between God and His people. But no, so 13th. We think this could be a massive breakthrough.
Yes.
We think this could be a massive breakthrough, politically, socially. So again, guys, if you can, there's 3 dates. 5th of June for Tommy's first hearing on this case, right? Say no more about that. Second date is 28th of June, football lads.
Yeah.
Basically doing the meeting and standing up against the grooming gangs. And then finally, the big one, the one that everybody's got to be at, 13th of September. It's going to be London. I've got a good idea of the route. I've got a good idea where it's going to be. The police are involved. Everything's going to be amazing. It's going to be, it's going to be a really, really good event. So guys, book your tickets. That's all I'm saying. Book your tickets. And if you can get there, obviously. I mean, it's going to be one not to miss. It's going to be one not to miss.
Definitely.
Definitely. Right. Shall we? We've got. I don't know how long you guys want to go for. Right. I've got to be off at 9 o'clock, and obviously that would be a massive long haul if we do. But shall we talk about the pledge?
Yes.
And why? And I want to come to you first on this, Jeff. What do you think about the pledge and how useful it can be in saving the United Kingdom, and why do you think that? Because obviously I've talked a lot about this with Paul Thorpe. I've talked a lot about it on my own on the channel, but obviously you've been there from the beginning, Jeff. You were at the meeting in Fleet Street where we had some of the finest minds in right-wing politics in the UK and me. We had some really clever people and me. And so take the floor there, Jeff, and let us know why should people sign it? What's important about it, and why? How can it make a difference in the UK in the next 4 years?
After that meeting, when we had several other sort of online meetings, and then we had the first sort of public signing, when Ben Habib turned up and signed the pledge, he summed it up. He said, I shouldn't need to sign this. I shouldn't need to sign it because this is just common sense. All of it. Every single bit is just common sense. And what it stems from is that the pledge reflects more of what we used to be, I suppose, as a country. If you look at it, you read it, and you suddenly start to think, well, actually, yes, that's common sense. That's common sense. Isn't that what's happening? And then you suddenly realize, no, it's not happening like that at all. In fact, in some ways, it's the reverse of common sense. And so the pledge for me is this return to one of the problems we have in British law, we don't have a written constitution. The constitution is alive. It changes every day with every change of the law. Every time a minister signs a statutory instrument, the constitution changes. Nothing is set in stone. They can change absolutely anything they want. But in the past, we always assumed or thought, and I would say that we were pretty accurate in doing so until about the 50s, that the politicians who we elected actually put the UK before themselves and their party all the time. That's the age of the statesman, when they used to believe in Britain. They did everything they could for Britain. But over the last few decades, we've suddenly started getting politicians who do it for themselves and for other beliefs and for other people. And that is when everything started falling apart. The pledge is a tool designed to bring us together back to common sense. And I would say that anyone who says, "Oh, I don't believe in that, I'm not going to do it," I just think, why not? What specifically in there is it that you don't really like, that you think is wrong? And not many people, in fact, I don't think anyone has actually pointed at it and said that's completely wrong. And I could sort of say, well, it's not. That is correct as far as I'm aware. I mean, although I had a hand in writing it, it was only a very small hand. Far, far cleverer people than I put this thing together. I just went along and sort of did a proofreading and helped
Me
along
too.
with that.
Yeah.
But that's the way I look at it. It's actually Richard on that side has a way of explaining it in a short terminology.
Go for it, Rich. Go for it.
Yeah, I view the pledge as a modern day chivalric code. That's more to the point, I think. And that's, I think, the most important way that it should be perceived, is that this is a set of values. And again, it's harking back to a time when people did have values. So it's to try and reinstate something that is so sadly missing in our society today. We need to get back to being the people of yesteryear. And the pledge will help with that, definitely, most definitely, because there it is, setting out a set of principles and beliefs that were held by people long ago, by putting forward the most simple things of common sense. But common sense went out the window when we exited towards secularism. I'm sorry to go on about that, but it is the truth. As soon as we went down that route, all of a sudden anything with any moral grounding disappeared. Well, this is one way of getting back to moral grounding. I mean, granted, I believe that church and faith should be first, but there are other things as well, other mechanisms, and I do believe that the pledge is one of them, and it is excellent for that. So I fully support you guys, because I'm on the outside of this more than anybody else. And it took me a while to sort of get my head around and understand this, because I was trying to say, okay, what is this? What does it mean? But I was on the outside watching it form. I wasn't in the inside like you guys. So, but when it was actually presented at the end, I was like, right, okay, this is most interesting. And so I think it is very valuable for people to sign the pledge. And it's a way of holding our politicians to account. I mean,
Yes.
it almost needs to be a saying, when you go to the polling booth, does this party sign up? Does it tally up, I should say, with the pledge? Does it, or does it not? Do the beliefs of the politicians, the MPs, the prospective parliamentary candidates, do they tally up with the pledge? No. Well, I'm not voting for them then. That's it. Okay.
Well, I think that's totally right, Richard. And again, I think, and again, we'll talk about this more when we're doing videos. What I'll do when we're doing videos about the pledge, and I don't know if you'll be able to do it as well, Rich, but and Jeff, but I'm going to put them on all my social media as well as on the pledge YouTube channel, or I'll certainly put links back to the pledge YouTube channel as well, so that we can actually drive traffic, so people can actually see what this is about. And we'll probably put the videos on the pledge. I'll create a little video player list on the pledge website, and we'll put the videos on the pledge website. But I think, to sum it up, really, this is the people. We've always said this is the people's pledge. It's not Jeff's pledge. It's not Richard's pledge. It's not David's pledge, or the other Richard, or Paul's, or Tommy's, or Maya's. It's everybody's pledge. It's there for everybody. And I think, in terms of how it works and the mechanism of it, we will be, and this is where we need a lot of people to sign it. And again, we've got about 54,000 people genuinely signed up. Once all the duplication's gone, once all the bad email addresses are gone and all the gash email addresses, we were up actually about 70,000. I thought we were doing better than we were. Then I took all the, which always happens with an email list. I took all the stuff out there that was undeliverable or wasn't working, and we're about 50,000. We haven't sent a lot of emails. I think we've sent 2 or 3 emails since we set it up, and that's deliberate. Because I know if it's anything like my inbox, I'm getting stuff from different patriotic organizations all over the world, blasting stuff into my Gmail account. And we don't want to do that. We will do that at some stage where it's important to do that, where there's a real reason to do it. But at the minute, what we want to do is build up a database of people who agree with those principles on the pledge by constituency. So in every constituency, we can go to local candidates for the next general election. Or with by the way, Richard, we're talking about doing something for the Welsh election with it, but we haven't discussed that officially yet. But there's a possibility we might deploy it for the Welsh election, but we don't know yet. But the next general election, this is when it'll really come into its own. We want to be able to go to marginal seats and say to the local candidates, we have 1,000 people, 500 people, 2,000 people in your constituency that have signed this document. They want to know, will you sign it? And if you won't, why not? And if you do sign it, then we can't say that they definitely will, but there's a chance that these people may then come and vote for you at the next general election. And if it's a tight race, which it could be, this could actually swing an election and basically mean that we have either a centre-right government or a lefty crazy, Angela Rayner type government, which we don't want. So I think from that point of view, we will go into a lot more detail when we start making videos. What we're going to try and do, and it's going to be just another job that we're making for ourselves. We're going to try and go through these points on the pledge, in quite generic terms, quite briefly, but just to explain what all the points are, so everybody has a full understanding of what they're signing up to. So we're going to try and get more information to you guys, and we will try and do more emails. But again, it's just busyness. We've all had a lot on the beginning of this year. We've had tragedies and all sorts of stuff going on in our personal lives, but we're on it now, and we're pushing it. And somebody made a comment the other day, where's the pledge? Well, the pledge hasn't gone away, as a certain Northern Irish politician said a few years ago, and anyone in Northern Ireland will know that saying very well. The pledge hasn't gone away, and it's not going away. So yeah, guys, jump on the pledge, sign the pledge. I think we'll maybe close it off there, guys. We will. Happy enough. We'll have some closing thoughts on everything. Richard, any closing thoughts on what we've said? Just any ideas that you've got to bounce off the listeners and the viewers there?
All I can say is don't forget the power of prayer. If anything does happen with Tommy, first of all, and if it does, we'll probably be coordinating something in terms of prayer. Aside from anything else, I think probably the most effective thing is just to get to church. So get to church. And as for the event in September, my goodness, that is something to look forward to, people. There is, do you know what? There's a light at the end of the tunnel. And that's the thing I want to just, on my part, is just to leave you guys with this. Just please realize there is hope. And, people can come together. And the other thing, that's what I wanted to say. It's not going to be a demo. That's not going to be a demo. It's a festival and a celebration of freedom of speech. That's what this is. If we can think positively about this, as opposed to thinking it's a demo, because it certainly isn't. I think this is something much more wonderful. It's fellow Britons coming together, and people from all over the world, to come together and say, we value something about Western civilization. And the thing about Western civilization that made it so inspiring, the thing that has inspired the rest of the world, is the fact that freedom of speech began in Britain. And that is something we need to remember. So please, going forward, everybody, please do be there in September. No matter what, be there. It's so important that you are. And yes, over to you. Sorry, Jeff, I suppose.
Yeah, Jeff, closing thought. I think closing thoughts on what can we do? What's the best thing we can do to help Tommy and help Tommy stay safe and stay free? What's the best thing that we can do in that respect? I think, Jeff. And again, thoughts about the future. What do you see? Look. I think before we go, I keep coming back to this on my channel because there's a lot of talk on different channels about civil war and this, that, and the other. And I'm not saying that that's not a possibility, but what I'm saying is we have the antidote in our movement to that. We have a better way, as the Bible says, a more excellent way of doing things, and it's through faith, hope, and love. And we focus on those things. We bring people together, get rid of all the hate, get rid of all the nastiness, and build our communities up based on love and Christian charity and Christian love, and we will, as the Wesleys did and Whitfield in the late 1700s, they prevented a civil war in England in the late 1700s, the Wesleys and the Whitfields with the revivals. We can do the same in our time if we get our act together. Yeah. So Jeff, sorry, I went off. That's my monologue. Tell me what you see for the future and how you see all of these pieces of the jigsaw that we're always talking about fitting together and making a difference.
Yeah. The most important thing is that to avoid something like civil strife, we've all got to engage with the political system. Now, during my time, the number of people that have said to me, "Oh, I don't do politics," because they think it makes them look so clever, until you point out that they moaned last time because the pub was shutting. That's politics. Or they got a speeding fine. That's politics. Or they couldn't buy what they wanted at the time they wanted. That's politics. So all these things tie together. And if you want to make a better country, get involved. There's nothing wrong with turning up at a local council meeting to have your word, and you can do that. You can join Neighbourhood Watch to protect your local community. You can even go litter picking. It's things like this that actually make the big difference. Take a pride in your community. It's really, really very important. And from that can come a lot of good, because then people can see, if you engage with politicians long enough and people in politics, then you get a good idea. Most people, if I was to ask anyone, or any one of the viewers right now, name your local councillors.
Yes.
These local councillors, I will tell you right now, they spend your money. The MPs don't spend your money. They vote on things like defence and all the rest of it. The people who spend your money are local councillors. When the potholes don't get mended, it's not your MP's fault. It's your local councillors that you either voted in or couldn't be bothered not to vote for, or to vote for someone else. There is nothing wrong with standing to be a councillor. It's not as hard as it looks. The people that are in it will try and tell you it is, but it's not. I've been a councillor. It's not as hard as it looks. Please get involved. And I will tell you that there is a very powerful lobby out there for a certain demographic, isn't there? Lots of MPs, lots of councillors. And do you know why? Because they get involved.
Exactly. And
Get involved.
And I mean, and that's it. It's very much like what they're doing is very similar to what Sinn Féin did in Northern Ireland in the 80s. They had the strategy, the Armalite, and the ballot box. And when we were doing the stuff with UKIP with the football lads in 2018, I said, well, look, we're not going to do the Armalite and the ballot box. Well, what we'll do the boots on the ground. In other words, the demos and the ballot box. And we got in Sunderland. I'm not going to name them because one of them sadly passed away, but we got some church councillors, parish councillors, and we got one guy on the council in Sunderland who he's still on the scene. He's a cracking lad, and he knows who he is. So if he's watching this, I've just given you a shout out. And that was when we didn't have a clue what we were doing, Jeff. I mean, it was like I just looked at the movement and said, "Well, do you know what? I think we need to go political, or else this is going to get very, very messy if we don't have a political solution to this." So, 2017, we'd 70,000 football lads and veterans on the streets of London, totally peaceful, silent protest. And it was chilling because there was such anger about what happened to Ariana Grande, Borough Market, PC, Keith Palmer, who'd been murdered in the grounds of Parliament. And the temperature, mercury was rising. And again, what we did was exactly what you're saying, Jeff. We gave a political solution. Now, it didn't work out for obvious reasons. We know why it didn't work out, because a certain man who doesn't really want anything to do with that lot. And I'm not going to say any more about that one tonight because I'm trying to not be negative about anything, but everyone knows who I'm talking about. Sabotage things. But we all learned a lot from that. And the only way we're going to get our way out of this is through a religious revival, a cultural revival, and then a political shift to, it's not even left or right. We need a political shift to Christian values. That's what we need, which are both left and right, because quite a lot of Christian,
Yes.
It was the churches that ran the hospitals. It was the churches that ran the schools. It was the churches that educated people. The state's taken over what was actually the church's job. And as the state falls apart through lack of money and net zero and all the other crazy stuff they're doing, giving 100 million to the Chagos Islands, 7 billion a year or whatever it is to keep Abdul Asif and Mohammed in your local 5-star Radisson hotel. Sorry, Radisson, you're probably not doing it. I'll take that back before you sue me. But your local 5-star hotel. So we need to have almost like a shadow state made up of community groups and Christian groups that can actually step up to the mark if all of the wheels come off this, which they very well could. And that's again how we can go to make sure that we prevent civil disorder, civil war, chaos. Is having those structures in place, and they've got to be led by Christianity, in my opinion, because it's the only thing that can lead it, that can do it peacefully without it falling into either a religious totalitarianism or a political totalitarianism. So yeah, that's it, guys. Great stream.
Yep.
Go to the pledge website. It's been up there all night. thepledge.org.uk. If you haven't signed it, why not? If you haven't read it, go and read it. Have a look at it. We'll be doing more on this. We're going to do something with this video, probably chop it up and put the pledge bit on the pledge website by the middle of next year when we get around to it. But thanks everyone for coming on tonight. Again, great news about Tommy, great news about the 13th of September. By the way, as well, if the state see fit to imprison Tommy before the 13th of September, the 13th of September will still go ahead. And the people that are coming will still come. And the speakers that are coming will still speak. So it's not like before where if you silence Tommy, you silenced everybody. If you silence Tommy, everybody else still comes. So that's just a little one for the state, in case you're thinking about imprisoning our friend and you're watching this stream, which we know you watch all these streams. Guys, brilliant. Really enjoyed that. I'm going to end the stream now. Thanks, everyone, for the super chats. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Subscribe to Counter Media. Subscribe to Jeff Taylor. Richard, give me your channels again there, mate. Just
Missed the news. Missed the news is the main one. For this.
Okay. Is that MIST or MISSED?
MISSED.
Yeah. My dyslexia was kicking in there. I spelt mist wrong. But guys, listen, thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks everybody for watching. We're going to keep doing these because there's an appetite for what we're saying and what we're doing. We're trying to do it lighthearted. We're having a laugh, but we're talking about some of the most serious issues in anybody's life. Religion, politics, the future of the country, the future of your family, the future of you. That's what we're talking about. These are big issues. Shohab, we're going to get you on again soon, mate. So I haven't been ignoring you. I've just been mega busy with stuff. We want to get you on again. And guys, don't forget to subscribe to Tommy's channel because he needs subscribers.
Oh yeah, he needs a couple.
He needs a couple.
He needs the publicity.
Listen, thanks everyone for watching. I'm going to put this. This is how we're going to finish. Fight. We're talking metaphorically, no surrender, and we'll do it all. Jeff, Richard, thanks for coming. We'll do it all again soon. Thanks for everyone watching.
Pleasure.
Like and subscribe, and we'll see you all again soon. Adios.
Night.